Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Friday. You know, you have a lot of choices, a lot of different shows you could go to over the course of really any night in Las Vegas. And the guy we have with us in studio right now, man, I grew up with this guy. We all remember the House Party movies. Class Act is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I love that movie. And Kid and Play, I grew up with these guys. And Chris Reid is half of Kid and Play. He actually has a show. He's doing stand-up now. Stand-up comedy, a performance, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. And it is going to be at the Grand, downtown Grand. Chris Reid from Kid and Play joining us in studio. Chris, what's going on, man? Put his mic on, JD. Help him out. Put it on.
I
There
messed
you go. That's okay. I would imagine, has that ever happened to you on stage before with all the concerts you've done and the mic isn't turned on?
Well, that once in a while that happens. Sometimes the music will go off. So,
Right.
do some technical, and you just got to do what's my man what's her name, sister? Remember when her music got messed up on Saturday Night Live, and she had to do like a little
Simpson?
Yes.
Ashley Simpson. She had to do a little jig.
For the record, I do remember that. For the record, have you ever lip synced? No.
No, we haven't lip synced, but there's sometimes when we're playing our performing live, we'll have like backing vocals, and we'll rhyme and sing on top of the thing for extra flavor.
So I have to ask you this: the top you had on your head at one point, your hair is a little different these days.
Yeah. Well, it's back in the days, the high top fade was it's a young man's haircut. You know what I'm saying? So I see a lot of young people rocking it today.
Honestly, how tall was that? Do you know?
I don't know, 7-8 inches. I try to make it proportionate to my junk.
So
what
yours
saying
would
is
be
2
3.
inches. Yeah, exactly. You stole the
Right,
joke.
and he's right. That's why he's bald, right? Okay, I get it.
Exactly.
I have an innie.
So take me back to square one here. You meet your partner in crime. Obviously, that would be Christopher Martin.
That's right.
When did you guys meet, and when did you form the group Kid and Play? Take me back to the early days.
Yeah, well, it was a dark and stormy night. Play and I grew up together around the corner from each other in Queens, New York. And, I've known him since I was like 12 years old. I think he was a couple years older. And it all kind of got born out of a friendship. We were in different groups. Back in the days, everybody had a crew, like this crew and that crew. We were in 2 different crews. But those crews kind of disintegrated, and, we kind of gravitated toward each other, and we were hanging out with each other every day. And we were just like, well, let's do something together. We're with each other all the time. So there was another cat that was really tight with us. He was a record producer named Herbie Lovebug, and he was the guy that created and blew up Salt and Pepper. So we stepped to him, and he was like, work with us. You know what I'm saying? We're homeboys, whatever. And that's how basically how we created Kid and Play. Wow. And we started opening up for Salt and Pepper.
You're in your early 20s?
What?
At this time?
Yeah, like maybe 21, 22, something like that.
And you're opening for Salt. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we were open for Salt and Pepper, Keith Sweat, Heavy D was out back then as well.
And you're making a name for yourself at that time. You just get your album out.
Yeah, we were opening, we getting on at like 7 o'clock, ain't nobody there. We used to be like, we perform for the ushers and the vendors. That's how you get better.
So Chris, where was the point in your career where you guys said, oh my God, we made it? Now, obviously, opening up for Salt and Pepper, that's a big deal, especially for a kid in his early 20s.
Right.
But what was the turning point, you think, in your career?
Well, I mean, those early days were a lot of fun because those are the days that kind of toughen you up. When you're the opening act,
Right.
we kind of used it to kind of fuel us so that, we only wanted to be an opening act on a tour like one time. Like next year, we're a little higher on the bill than next year, and then, give you something to shoot for and, make better records and, have your fashions look even better and make sure your high top is crisp and the dance moves, all that stuff. Just trying to, set ourselves apart because the hip hop scene in New York at the time was like very, very competitive. So you really had to be at your best, even to just, be amongst the best in New York. So we sold a bunch of records, but I mean, honestly, the big turning point was probably when the first House Party movie came out.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
That just kind of took us to a whole nother level, and there's nothing like seeing yourself or people seeing your face on a huge screen.
Right.
That's back when people still going to movies.
I mean, it's fair to say at one point in your career, you were one of the most recognizable musicians out there around.
Oh yeah, but also what's funny is people look at the high top and, oh man, it was so cool. But back in the days when I first started wearing it, people used to laugh at me all the time. They would laugh, especially white people. They thought it was hysterical, man. Like, oh, look at this guy.
but let's talk about
what race is he?
That's a very good impersonation of JD, actually.
I know. I was listening on the way in.
That's almost too good.
But speaking of the high top, that's what you did in the movie Class Act. That's one of my favorite movies, by the way, comedies of all time, where you're playing this kid who's this intellectual kid, and you're swapping personalities with what was Christopher Martin at
with
the time.
Thug.
It's a brilliant, I guess you could say idea, and the movie, I think everybody could relate to it, right? I mean, that's what made that movie so popular.
Well, and if people remember what happened in that movie, in the transformation from being a nerd to to a thug or what have you, I changed my hairstyle. I wasn't wearing the high top anymore. They kind of twisted it up. But because originally I didn't want to wear the high top in that movie at all, but Warner Brothers.
Why not?
Because I always try to go with my instinct. My instinct told me when to do it in the first place, and I didn't want to get stuck with it. You know what I mean? That was about my fear was if you don't move on to something else and show the world that it isn't just about your hairstyle, it's about your talent, it's about your ability, it's about your creativity. So initially, when we got the deal to do Class Act, I told my managers to tell Warner Brothers I didn't intend on wearing the high top in the movie at all. And Warner Brothers came back and threatened to sue. They's like, nah. They like, Negro, we bought you and your hair. So it was. We were going back and forth, and the compromise was I would start the movie as the nerd in the high top, and then transition. So when I changed, I'm trying to become a more streetwise character. That's when I changed the hair, and I never wore it again after that.
Really, I never knew that.
Yeah, and it was weird. I never forget because we were doing the movie in and out of sequence. So I would have the hairstylist come in, and I had the high top, and then she would twist it up into the dready, noodly looking hair. And I'll never forget when I went back to the high top. After that, I looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time, I thought I looked stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't feel, and that's when I knew it was time to move on. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't worn that since 1991.
But you didn't grow up as a nerdy guy though, right?
I did. I totally did.
So you did. Okay, so you were that kind of.
I was. Yeah, I went to a prestigious high school in New York City called the Bronx High School of Science. And play went to like 6 high schools. So I mean, Class
so you guys really didn't have to act, right?
No, yeah, Class Act was like this. I was like, we saw the writer. We were like, do you know us? Like you got everything on point, And I think that's initially that's what attracted us to the script. It was like, yo, this is just like how we grew up. You know what I'm saying? Play hated school. I was definitely on the nerdy tip. And Play tells a story. He was. He'd come over my house and he couldn't believe that I knew all the answers to Jeopardy. And he's like, man, this dude know a lot of stuff.
That is amazing.
So we try to help each other. So I was trying to urge him to get back into school and kind of improve his mind and crack a book once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
and he was kind of the one to kind of help me navigate the streets and how to talk to chicks and all this and that.
But that movie challenged like stereotypes and it was funny the way you guys did. Do you feel like you guys were one of the first to really challenge those types of stereotypes and make it funny and make fun of yourself a little bit without being criticized for it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we were able to work with each other, and we always brought together. You know how they cast people, this guy, put him with this guy, put Danny DeVito with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
It just feels right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we had a natural chemistry because we had grown up together, and you know what I mean? With that ease, we could, kind of go, and we also kind of had each other's back. And we, like you said, we weren't afraid to kind of take shots at ourselves and be the butt of the joke sometimes. And I think people appreciated that. And it was at a crucial time in terms of movies and hip hop. So, the way you put it out there, you wanted to make it palatable for everybody, for black kids, white kids, Latin kids, Asian kids. So, and then also combining that with the music, it was a fun time because hip hop was growing and we felt like we were a part of that movement. And at the time we were also touring. We're touring with Public Enemy. We're touring with Salt and Pepper.
Oh wow.
So it was
Flavor Flav right here in Las Vegas, man.
No, that's my homeboy.
You know what?
That's my
One of
homeboy.
my speaking of Flavor Flav, one of my favorite jokes. Lisa Lampanelli said, "Flav, why are you wearing that clock? You hadn't had to be anywhere in 20 years." That was one of my favorite jokes.
Yo, I tell you, excuse me. I'll tell you a quick story about Flavor. We were all on tour together. What's funny, like Public Enemy was probably like one of the most controversial groups of the time, right?
Absolutely.
But as artists, we all kind of respected each other. And Public Enemy, they always put us on one of their tours because they felt we balanced things out. You know what I mean? We used to do shows with Public Enemy. We toured with NWA. Because to get into a lot of these buildings, you had to have that balance because the building owners is like Public Enemy, and they're like, no, but we got Kid and Play, and you'd get every spring before the summer tour, you'd get that call from Chuck D from Public Enemy. You're like, come on, we gotta go on the tour, and more. Kid and Play, I'm on the tour. And I'm like, okay, Chuck, we'll be there. But we were on tour one year. And we're coming into some city. And we're in there with the buses and flavors, everybody's coming in, and the rooms weren't ready at the hotel. So all the groups are just kind of chilling in the lobby. You got to wait till they clean the rooms, and there's a grand piano in the lobby. So, we're all kind of, playing around with it. None of us know how to play.
Right.
And then here comes Flavor. Flavor comes off the bus. He well, listen to that. And he sits down at the piano. We're like, man, what is this fool getting ready to do, man? Stop it. And then he goes, Midnight Sonata. We were like, well, mouths dropped open. We were like, oh.
So he's good.
These are idiots of art.
Flavor Flav plays the guitar, plays the piano.
He plays the drums. He plays a gang of instruments, man. Then he just pum pum.
That's unbelievable. That would be like if Justin Bieber got up there on the stage and he started busting out these raps, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's the next Eminem.
I'm telling you, people have no idea how talented Flav is.
I never knew that. That's unbelievable.
So you mentioned how you were basically afraid that you'd be typecast because of your hair. Do you believe that actually ended up happening to you?
No, because I moved on. Like I said, when I after we finished the movie Class Act, I never went back to the high top fade again. And I've had different hairstyles since then. I've had actual dreads. I've had I messed around with some different things to just to kind of prove that point, because I didn't want to get stuck walking around with a gray high top. That's not that's not sexy. That's not sexy. So now it's just like whatever. I'm hanging on to every last curl now. You know what I'm saying? So,
he is Chris Reid, half of Kid and Play, and he's got a show doing some stand-up comedy downtown Grand. We'll get to that too in a little bit, and we also have some tickets to give away. Okay,
tickets.
Absolutely. So you're at the top of your game, right? You got these movies out. You mentioned the house party movies. I love the movie Class Act. You're selling a gazillion albums. I would imagine, what was that like, being so recognizable? You can't even go right to a supermarket or a movie without people recognizing you. Yeah. How did you deal with that fame and that celebrity status?
Well, I mean, when it was at its hottest, it was pretty hot. But I've always been like a people person, so I've always embraced that, and I feel like it's part of the deal. A lot of people that get famous are not really people persons, so they they might diss the fans, or they're just not as friendly or as accommodating as they could be. I've never really had that problem, but it did make things a little bit difficult. When you come outside, you got to be fresh. You can't be coming out looking all jacked up and whatnot.
In other words, you can't look like us. Yeah.
No. I wasn't gonna say that. But it was tough. But it's like, be careful what you ask for. I mean, this is what we wanted. We were making our dreams come true. We were taking care of our families. We were being a part of being creative and stuff. The movies were going great. The music was going great. We were able to kind of do some of our outside endeavors individually that we wanted to do. I started producing and managing other groups.
Right.
Play was doing his thing in the fashion world and stuff. So it was a good time. So I mean, I always enjoy the hustle and the bustle of the game. And even to this day, when I'm walking around Fremont last night, and people are coming up and want to, they want to say what's up, they want to take pictures,
You still get that a lot.
Yeah, all the time, especially when playing out together. It's always funny because when we're touring and we're going backstage and we're walking together, when people see us together, they really kind of bug out. And we'll walk by some young people and and they'll go, "Oh man, look at them, man. Yo, them dudes are legends, man." But they say legends, but by the time it gets to our ears, it sounds like, "Man, them dudes is old."
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Stop it. We can hear you.
What was it? Well, I would imagine, for somebody like myself who struggles to get dates on a regular basis, I would imagine for you guys, the groupies.
Very true.
It wasn't hard to
the
get.
The groupie status. Like, what was it like? Honestly, like, did you have like 10 women waiting backstage for you after a show? Like, what? 20? Like, what?
Ridiculous.
Give me a story. I mean, without, you don't have to get too graphic. You could if you'd like, though, Chris. But,
No. Well, I mean, a lot of times, we were on, whatever the major tours were at the time. Like I said, if it was Public Enemy or, like I said, one year we toured with NWA, and those were some nasty hookers on that tour, boy. But yeah, the hotel that all the groups stayed at was, everybody let everybody know where that is. We'd be on stage. Hey, man, we down at the downtown Grand.
But you have women, I would imagine you just have women throwing themselves at you left and right. I mean, to a normal, everyday person, they'll never experience that.
Good. Guys, too. Guys want to get some, too. Hey, kid. Hey, kid, you want to play?
I bet that would not surprise me one bit, actually. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give away a pair of tickets right now. He is Chris Reid, Kid from Kid and Play.
That's right.
He's going to be at Downtown Grand this weekend on Saturday night. A pair of tickets right now. Fifth caller, 702-257-5396. Again, fifth caller right now. You just scored yourself a pair of tickets to see Kid from Kid and Play. Chris Reid in action, stand-up comedy. It's going to be hilarious this weekend. 702-257-5396. Also, if you have a question for Kid, Chris Reid, we'll also take that as well. Again, that number 702-257.
Or if you have ever had sex with Christopher Kid Reid, please no.
And actually, the phones are lighting up.
Have you? Okay. Well, hey, you brought that up, not me. So I would imagine you've been with some very famous people.
No, not. I haven't.
Really?
Yeah. Now, Play was more like predisposed to that. You know what I'm saying? Play's had a couple of famous.
Have you ever had a famous woman come on to you?
Yeah.
Rosie O'Donnell? No.
Rosie O'Donnell.
No. Can you name any famous woman that has come on to you?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Hillary Clinton?
Right.
All right, let's play. Were they an actress?
Right. What is this, Jeopardy?
So what's your
hip hop horrors for 400, Alex.
So what's your do you have a family? Do you have kids? You married?
I've got 3 kids. They're all in their 20s though, but they still begging. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like an old Robin Harris joke. He said, "Man, these kids, they beg so much their hands look like cups." So I got 3 grown kids. They're doing well. I got 3 kids. I got 2 baby mamas. I got 1 ex-wife and I got a new girlfriend.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, things are going really great.
We're going to have to chart that a second. Wait.
Well, people don't understand. To get in the Rappers Union back in the day, you had to have at least 2 baby mamas.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Is that how it works?
It's a 2 baby mama minimum.
Did you ever?
That's a good quota.
Did you ever meet? Did you ever spend time with Tupac or Biggie? Any of those guys?
I knew Tupac way back in the days when before he even became an artist. He used to be what we call like a crate carrier, like equipment guy, and he would background dance for Digital Underground. And so we had toured with Digital Underground in the early 90s. So yeah, I knew like? Tupac. Tupac was the thing with Tupac was he was about 19 at the time, and he was just this ball of energy. He was just like this meteor, and and he was down for whatever. Like all the groups were tight on the tour. Public Enemy was tight. Heavy D, Digital, Kid and Play, and we all kind of hung out together and kind of cross-pollinated, with the different groups. And Tupac was one of those guys like, if he was your friend, even if it was a new friendship, he was down with you. Your enemy is his enemy. You'd be like, "Yo, man, I don't like that dude." Tupac like, "Yo, let's go F him up. Shoot, let's go." That type of stuff. So very, very emotional.
Do you think that was part of his demise, where that because of his emotion, obviously on that fateful day in Las Vegas when he was shot and lost his life, a lot of people have, like yourself, people have said that he was a very emotional guy, but if you were his friend, he had your back.
To the death. You know, there was a young man who danced for, was one of Heavy D's backup dancers, that died on that tour, that particular tour. Welcome to the Terror Dome tour. He fell from the arena, outside the arena, the ramp, and it just broke everybody up. And I remember we were all upset, but Tupac in particular was really, really upset because him and this guy, cat named Troy, were really, really tight. But yeah, I would come across Pac. You know, a lot of times toward the end, him and Suge were always together, and you know, we had a good relationship with Suge.
What do you make of what happened to Suge? Because I don't know if you're aware of this. He played football here at UNLV.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. Sugar, yeah, that's Sugar Bear.
What do you make of what transpired with him? It's not a good situation for his family. No, he may never see the light of day again. But I would imagine you were close with Suge, right?
I wouldn't say close.
But you were friendly with him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Suge was a complicated guy. You know, he had that street demeanor. And then he had that, you know, for a while he definitely had the business acumen, and they had the streets. I mean, to be honest, the rise of Death Row began the demise of groups like Kid and Play. To be honest, so when the gangster stuff started coming around, you know, they didn't want to see some happy dancing Negroes, man. They were just like, come on, man, where are the guns? Where are the guns? Where are the guns at? Stop it.
Why don't we
Ain't going to hurt nobody. Oh, we're going to kill everybody.
We're going to play that song coming up next, by the way. He is Chris Reid from Kid and Play.
What?
Yes, that's right. And he's got some stand-up comedy, and it's going to be at the Grand.
And he ate at White Castle last night.
White Castle's
hold
awesome.
your nose.
Let's take a call. Chris has a question for Kid. Chris, why don't you take the mic, my friend? You are on with Chris Reid. What's your question for Chris Reid?
Guys, what's going on? Chris, it's Chris Reid. Awesome to see you here in Vegas, man.
Thanks, boss. What's good?
Floating around your same age range, and man, that first house party was just so much fun. It had to be fun to shoot that too, being with Martin Lawrence and obviously Keisha and all of them. But you're doing the stand-up comedy thing now.
That's right.
Did Robin Harris give you any pointers? Obviously, the late Robin Harris, great comedian, great stand-up comedian. What kind of advice did he give you as far as the whole game, as far as being in movies and maybe some stand-up comedy?
Well, Robin was a great man. Obviously, we lost him way too soon. You know, he was older than us during that movie, and he was kind of like our patron saint. You know, I mean, we were all younger. We would do as he said and whatnot. But Robin had, at that time, I wasn't even thinking about doing stand-up. It was years later, like around 2000, when a couple of good friends of mine, Tommy Davidson and Bill Maher, they're the ones that urged me to get into stand-up.
Two legends.
Yeah, and matter of fact, Bill Maher put me on the Oprah Winfrey Show. They were doing a segment called Funny People and Who They Think Are Funny. So you had Jon Stewart brought on Louis Black.
Oh, I love those guys.
D.L. Hughley brought on some more. And Bill brought me on, and you know, kind of gave me my introduction to the stand-up world. And then I started doing that. You know, I fell in love with it, and it was at a time when Kid and Play was kind of dormant, and so it was a way for me to get back on stage. And once I realized, when I started doing stand-up, I was like, yo, this doesn't feel unfamiliar at all, because I already knew my way around the stage. I mean, we were on stage in front of 30, 40,000 people sometimes, you know. So, but it was just about marrying that to what it takes to be a comedian, the material and stuff like that. So, Robin was definitely an inspiration in a lot of different ways. You know, he and I hung out a lot because we had a lot of scenes together. He was playing my father, so he was a really good dude, and you know, we miss him for sure.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and Chris Reid from Kid and Play is nice enough. He's going to stick around for another segment. We're also going to talk to Mr. Barnhart, if you're wondering who that other voice is.
Barnhart.
That's right. He's been doing stand-up comedy in this town forever, and he's got a little information to tell us about this show on Saturday night. We'll also take more of your phone calls, 702-257-5396, and they're nice enough to be giving away another pair of tickets next segment. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to the Wait, that sounds like Kid and Play, I think. Half of Kid and Play would be Chris Reid. Yeah, that's right.
All right, can you hear me? Yeah, I wrote that.
Yeah, I think you did. How much money did that song make you?
Oh God, I don't know.
$29.95.
Child support took it all.
You're a
diverted.
You're a millionaire, are you not? Is that a fair?
No,
you're not a millionaire.
Definitely not a millionaire.
You're not. Are
no.
you kidding me?
I've been a millionaire,
You've
but
been a
I'm not
millionaire.
currently a millionaire.
Sounds like Mike Tyson.
I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire the way Trump is a billionaire.
We don't need to see
You
your tax
never
returns.
quite know.
right.
I'm not showing my returns.
Do you implement politics into your stand-up act?
Not a lot. Not a lot. That's not really my bag. I mean, I do that more like on the personal tip, on the private tip. I leave that to guys like Bill Maher. Bill Maher is probably like the best at that.
He's a genius when it comes to
and
that stuff.
yeah,
no
he's
question.
been a close friend of mine for a long time. So I definitely
love Bill Maher.
learned a lot from him, and I actually did the theme song to his HBO show.
I saw a very. Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Check the credits.
You did the intro to Bill. I did not know that. Yeah. Quick Bill Maher story, since you are friends with him. So I'm friends with a woman. Her name is Lisa Weiss. She's a blackjack dealer on the Strip, and she happens to be one of the women that was in the scandal with Anthony Weiner. Do you remember the Anthony Weiner scandal? So Bill Maher read one of the transcripts between Weiner and this woman, and it was funny. I thought it was funny. Obviously, she didn't think it was funny. She did an interview, and she said she was very disappointed in Bill Maher, blah, 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 blah. Bill Maher sees that interview, personally calls her, invites her to see his show with me, and we're hanging out with him backstage, and he's apologizing to her. And I'm thinking to myself, what a cool dude. What a nice dude.
Yeah.
Like, why
that's surprising to me.
Like,
wow. He did that.
Yeah, I mean, he did do that.
I'll have to ask him about it now.
Well, maybe he liked what she looked like, which is very possible because she was a very attractive.
She was a hottie.
But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He was actually very cool and down to earth.
Right. So you were backstage in the green room and everything.
We
like
were.
that?
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we were, and his manager brought us back there, and it was just cool. What a really smart guy. You could say what you want about him, about his politics, which I tend to agree with, but he's a really smart guy.
No, he's super smart. He's easily probably the smartest dude that I know. And one of the things about it is, we've kind of helped each other like over the years. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird when people would see us out hanging out or having dinner. People are like, how y'all two know each other? Like, how was it? You know what I'm saying? But
isn't he from New York though?
Yeah, he's from Jersey. Same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. But he's kind of been like a elder statesman for me, and I've learned a lot from him. He's changed my views on a lot of different things, on like religion and. I
love Religious, by the way. That is a great movie.
Brilliant. You know, him, Larry Charles.
Yeah. Larry Charles, Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favorite shows.
I barely smoked weed back in the days, and now it's ridiculous. Now I'm like, now there's a cloud of smoke. You know how you remember Pigpen from Charlie Brown, and there's a cloud of smoke with him all the time. That's me, but it's weed smoke.
I would imagine there was. I'm not saying you did this, but I would say that back in the day when you were touring, there was probably some white powder backstage.
You know what? We didn't mess with that too tough.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, we barely drank back then.
Was that the nerd person in you? Or?
No, I think you know what? I mean, like I said, but probably by the time I got to California, that's when you kind of get exposed to all of that stuff. But I think at the time we were so young and we were just really kind of focused, and we were like part of a crew. Like it was us, Salt and Pepper. Like I said, Herbie managed and produced us all, and they kind of we all kind of checked each other and made sure everybody was focused and present. So we didn't do a whole lot of that stuff back then. The wild stuff came like a little bit later, like when I moved to California.
Give me an example of one wild night in the life of Kid from Kid and Play. Give me one night that you can say this was abnormal. This was a wild and crazy night.
Okay, so this is several years ago. We were going to the. It was an after party for like the Golden Globes or something like that.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I think it was the big party after that was it wasn't Vanity Fair, but it was some big party we were at. Excuse me. And then word comes in that Prince is having a party at his house. Prince had rented a house in Beverly Hills from the basketball player Carlos Boozer.
Oh, of course, Chicago Bulls.
He had it. So he rented it for like the year or something like that. So somebody was saying, "Hey man, Prince is having a party at his house, man." And we was like, "Yo!" So I look around, and the DJ from Salt and Pepper, Sprinderella, it was me and her. We were there. We was just like, "Yo, we should go. Yeah, let's go." I mean,
it's a party with Prince.
I'm Kid. You Sprinderella. We go together. We might get in. So we're just gonna roll up on the set. We wasn't invited or nothing. So we get there. And we come up there with there's some goth looking dude with a black coat with the collar up. He's got a headset, and we were like, Kid and Spinderella are here, and he goes, Wait 1 minute, please. He turns around, he's checking his thing, and we just like, oh man.
Did you have the high top back then?
No, I didn't. But
that could have helped.
Yeah,
that could have
like,
helped.
no, well, yeah, well, we about to find out. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was where the so we're waiting, anxious moments, and then finally he comes back. He says, "You may go." No, not leave. He said like, "You may go."
Oh, you were allowed to come in.
Yeah. Because they had this shuttle. They had this shuttle that had to take you up to the house. Like you down here at the bottom, you got to go up a hill, and so we on, and it's just me and her on the shuttle. We like, yo.
So you walk into a party, an after party after the Golden Globes. You're admitted into a party Prince. I would say there's not a lot of people that have been to parties like that. So what is that like? You walk in there. It's crazy.
You walk in there. There's Mariah Carey over here. There's Will.I.am over there. There's Dougie Fresh over here. There's all these record executives. Mary J. Blige. They got the liquor bar. They're serving Veuve Clicquot. I'm like, oh yeah, mama, I made it.
I would imagine a lot of attractive women at that party as well.
Oh, ridiculous. So there's this big kind of foyer right by the grand entrance or whatever.
Right.
So a couple of us are down there, shooting it. And then here comes Prince down the steps, and I swear he was floating. He had like this turquoise caftan, and he was just like floating down. Welcome to my home. We're like, yo, this is great.
Because I heard he was a shy guy. So like when he's in that situation, what is he doing? Is he like mingling? Did you talk to him?
Yeah. We had a little circle there, so we like chit chatting for a little bit or whatever. But then he bounces because they're going to another part of the house because they're playing live music. He's playing live music. Like
he was playing music.
It was a concert. It turned into a freaking concert.
Oh my God.
Turned into a concert. So I'm like, yo, my wife at the time was out of town, and she's the biggest Prince fan. I'm like, oh my God, she's never gonna, let me, forget about that she wasn't able to be there. But I thought to myself, this party is rocking, man. It's like 1, 2 o'clock. It's packed, man. We just jamming. And then I thought to myself, I said, yo, Bill Maher lives right up the street. He lived nearby in Beverly Hills. I said, yo, I should call him, tell him to come down to this party, man. So I called him. I said, yo, you got to come down the hill, man. He's like 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away.
Right.
I said, come down here. It's banging. It's Prince. Come on, man. There's broads. Let's do it. He's like, you sure? I said, yeah, man. Come on. So he comes down the hill, and they don't let him in the party.
No.
So Bill Maher did not get to go to the Prince party.
And I couldn't figure out why, but we think it was because, Bill is so anti-religious, and Prince is was uber religious.
I would think Prince agreed with his politics, though, no? Am I wrong?
We'll never know.
That is incredible.
We'll never know. Yeah, I felt so bad that I left the party with Bill. I said, yo, I can't go back in there. All right, Bill, I'll see you later, man.
So I'm just trying to picture this. We have a young kid and a young Chris
You would
Reid.
have liked if I did that, right? Yeah, leave Bill Maher.
We have a young kid, from Kid and Play, and then you have Bill Maher. I'm just trying to picture him outside the gate. They won't let him into this Prince party.
Look, the same guy, with the goth-looking guy, was like, you may not enter. No, he told me you may go. He told Bill you may go home.
I could see if it was Pauly Shore, but Bill Maher's a pretty big name.
Man, listen, he had to do the walk of shame, so I had to go with him. I left with him. But
You're a
it
good
was
friend.
But it was already like 3:30 in the morning. I was like, I gotta go. Okay. I gotta get out of here anyway.
Where did Spinderella go?
She stayed. She's like, see you, kid. I was like, you whore.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Chris Reid. He is Kid from Kid and Play. He's doing a show at the Downtown Grand. And his partner in crime here, I want him to talk a little bit about this show that is going to be Saturday night. That is Don Barnhart.
Hello.
And if you know Don.
Hey, what's up, Don?
Thank you for being
we
here.
We call him the Don.
Yes,
the Don.
The Don.
The other Don.
I like that. You've done a lot of stand-up. You have your own career in stand-up comedy. Talk to me a little bit about this show and how you put this thing together.
Well, I own Delirious Comedy Club at the Downtown Grand. We have a couple different shows there. We try to do a celebrity comedy series because we really rebrand in the downtown area. And one of my buddies from Colorado asked, who's one of your biggest draws out there? He goes, well, Chris Reid, Kid. I go, can you get him? And he called him, and Chris called me, and we got him here. So
that's awesome.
It's just something to do. We're promoting the heck out of it, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. Delirious Comedy Club at the Downtown Grand. And Kid called me up, goes, "Hey man, my buddy said you gonna do this? Is this good?" I go, "Yeah, it's good." And he was on the phone and booked it right away.
Yeah. We just worked it through some, good buddy of ours, and it sounded like cool. And I always like trying different things. I was actually playing. I were actually here. On New Year's Eve, we had a show here New Year's Eve. Damn, where was that at? Some big club. I forgot what it is.
In Vegas?
Yeah.
Dre's?
No. It was. I'll get back to it. But it's weird having been here, 6 weeks ago as a rapper, and now I'm back here this time as a stand-up. And hearing it was downtown. That I like it downtown. It's kind of funky.
It's cool.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was walking around last night, and the vibe is really great. And I like what Don is doing, and he's catching things on the upswing. So much construction and stuff is going on. So I'm excited to do it.
Speaking of the show, I just want to give another pair of tickets away. We have 2 more tickets to give away. He is Chris Reid, Kid from Kid and Play, and as we just mentioned, a show downtown. 2 shows actually Saturday night.
That's right.
5th caller right now, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you will score a pair of tickets to see Kid from Kid and Play do his stand-up act. Again, that number 702-257-5396. Call now. 5th caller wins a pair of tickets.
Is 5 like your lucky number?
I could have done 50. Yeah. I could have done 69. I could have picked any number I wanted. But
I got 5 on it.
That was pretty good.
He does really like that show. Donna knows. Is this a one-off exclusive performance, or is it part of a residency type situation?
So we have Delirious, which is 5 nights a week. Thanks for asking. 9 o'clock Wednesday through Sunday, and then once a month we're going to start doing a celebrity comedy series. So we had Pauly Shore back in November. It was a great success. We go to the bigger room for this. So I'm usually one of the headliners you might see at Delirious or one of the other clubs around town, but we're trying to do more celebrity series. So, Kid, if you could bring some of your other friends in, like this Bill Maher cat.
Are you gonna let him in?
Yeah. I just wanted Prince to be the guy in the goth outfit at the front door.
Oh, no, he
I was
wasn't.
just hoping that would have been Prince.
No, it was a real tall, pasty white dude with spiked hair, and he had like a long black trench coat, and the collar was up, and the headphone. Like he was straight out of Central Casting. He was like Matrix Junior looking.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do next, because this is going to be a lot of fun. It's one of our favorite segments of the show, and it's called Hate Mail. And what we do is people say a lot of bad things about me. I know, surprising, right? I know.
Right, like mean tweets.
Yeah, I'm such I'm sure you've had that now and then. I'm such a likable guy. I don't know,
Right.
But anyway, Chris has been nice enough. He's going to read some of those comments coming up next, right? Isn't that right, Chris?
That is correct. We're gonna let him get the hate out.
I am looking forward to that. So we're going to take a quick break. Our last segment of the show. Chris is nice enough to stick with us. Kid from Kid and Play. Again, his show Saturday night, Downtown Grand. 2 shows, 7 and 10. Is that right?
Yeah,
7:30 and 10.
7:30 and 10.
7:30 and 10.
But you could get there at 7. That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, that's right. Hang out.
And again, thank you to the Downtown Grand. They're remodeling. They got a new tower coming in. So they're really pushing for
Derek
this.
Stevens is a friend. He's been on this show plenty of times, and he's a great guy. And what he's done with that hotel was incredible. You can see why he's made so much money as a successful businessman.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice over there.
Yeah. You gamble, Chris?
With my penis.
Zoinks.
Well, in that case, just date any stripper, and that's definitely a gamble. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is the Hate Mail segment.
With my junk.
The Hate Mail segment with Chris Reid.
Gavin with my junk.
For Kid and Play. Take a quick break. Be back with that.
I wish I said junk.
You're listening to the Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. Our very special guest in studio is Chris Reid. He is Kid from Kid and Play.
Yes, I be.
And he is doing some stand-up comedy at the Downtown Grand this Saturday, 7:30 and 10 p.m. Congratulations to both of our winners. So this is the part of the show where usually our producer, Jason Stein, reads off some of the hate mail that we get on a daily basis, and we get quite a bit of it.
Tons.
So, Mr. Stein, why don't you take over, because it's my understanding that Kid from Kid and Play is going to read some of the hate mail.
Oh, we could do that. We could do that. I think it would just be great to have him react, so we could have 3 people laughing at you instead of 2, like we usually do. But that's okay.
However you want to rock it.
However you want to do it.
We'll do it.
You're the producer.
We'll do it.
So
all right,
figure it
let's
out.
do it. Let me start.
Yeah, get it popping.
Well, yeah, let me get started so Chris knows how we do it here. Okay, here we go.
Fair enough.
We were talking earlier in the show about coronavirus and the political reaction to it. Pete writes, Brian, are you disappointed that your guest isn't jumping on your fearmonger Dem talking points? A whole lot of what ifs. So basically, wash your hands and stay home if you're sick. Got it?
I don't wash my hands, and I don't take showers, so that's never going to happen.
Okay.
Ooh.
The real Carolyn.
Pungent.
That's true, by the way, Chris. Reid.
Pungent.
That's actually true. That's not shtick.
Unless I have sex twice in
very
one day,
accurate.
then I'll consider taking a shower. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, the real
Not even true.
Carolyn Haynes. I said Carolyn Haynes. I think the fake Carolyn changed their name to the real Carolyn Haynes. As soon as I tune in, I am bombarded with Brian's yelling, whiny voice. Can the Vegas Take use better voice filters, please?
Fran Drescher is going to just filled out an application, so she's possibly. By the way, can I just say this?
Yes.
Kid has an unbelievable set of pipes. He could be a radio host.
Yeah, he could.
This is how we do it.
I like that. A little Montel Jordan action. I like that.
Would we replace JD with him?
JD, do you mind?
What do you sing? What do you
does.
sing?
He does play a very good white person.
I do white stuff too.
Yeah.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat. That's beautiful.
Oh,
Gonna make you
That's almost too good.
That's beautiful.
You got any Skinner?
Sweet home Alabama.
All right, how about John Denver?
What is this
Left
request?
my teeth in Louisiana.
What was that?
Just 9 banana.
If I had to name the worst musician that you would not want to impersonate, who would it be?
Oh man, put me on the spot.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
my God.
Britney Spears.
Britney's no Ashley Simpson. Right? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
We don't have music to play.
I know, right?
Go ahead, Stein.
All right,
What's
back to the hate mail. Maybell writes. Maybell Shapiro is what she calls herself.
Okay.
Oh, well, she's not related to me, that's for sure.
We don't know. So this is what my son does with his life. Yells into a microphone every day for a living. We paid for the best schools, and this is what he decided to do. Oy
By the
vey.
way, my parents would never pay for me to go to school. That's not true. I was on a scholarship, so that's definitely not my mother. She would have never paid for me to go to school. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's false.
I had to work my way through school too, as well. My father was Jamaican, so he was just like, "I'm not going to pay for it."
I'm a Jew also. I'm a Jew-Macon. Go ahead, Stein.
Okay, earlier in the show before Chris Reid came in,
A Jamaican.
I'm a Jew-Macon. I'm a Jew.
we were talking earlier in the show also about Diamond and Silk. Do you know who Diamond and Silk are?
Diamond and Silk, or Diamond and Silk. I think Diamond and Silk were like rappers.
No.
Oh, them. Oh,
No,
no.
what they are, they're
you're talking
YouTube
the ones,
stars.
Oh, the ones on Fox.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are two black women
Lord.
who backed Donald Trump, and they have a show on Fox, and they're on YouTube and all that.
Lord.
So we were talking. We had
Stop it.
we had a segment about them because they were in the White House yesterday. While we got this coronavirus thing going
cleaning?
on.
What were they doing?
No, they weren't cleaning. No. You can make that joke. I can't make that joke. But no, they were in the White House meeting with Trump yesterday, and we were playing. You better hurry up, Diamond. I'm coming, Silk. That's not bad. So we were talking. Bring the lights on.
You shouldn't talk about black leaders like that.
Well, Brian was doing that earlier. He was imitating them as we were playing some audio, and so someone writes in. A lot of people actually wrote in, but one person says, "So now you're making fun of how black women talks. Real nice, Brian." Nothing to say about that. Huh?
Well, first of all,
I can totally
talk
agree.
like
He
third
was
graders.
definitely doing that for 10 to 15 minutes without realizing that they're entertainers and they're comedians. And for the fact that just because they are talking that way doesn't mean they're not intelligent, Brian. It doesn't work like
They
that.
talk like third graders, and
get
if
it.
Donald Trump is going to spend an hour with them and call them black leaders,
but they
I think
do
they
that-
should have at least a
They do
GED. Is that
for a
wrong of me to
reason.
say?
They do that for their
I'm
act.
sorry.
Is it really? It's just like a big act. It's just like a.
Yeah.
They're just fools on YouTube. That's
Yeah,
all they
just-
are. That's all they are.
But Donald Trump has taken, he's kind of taken them in because they're gearing it
Because
towards
they're
that.
homeless.
Because-
Listen, Kid,
because-
make some national news right now. Okay, who are you supporting for president? I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
You know what?
Stormy
I
Daniels?
know who I'm not supporting. All right. But I'm not yet excited about anybody I've seen or heard from yet.
Do you think we'll ever see the day Kanye West runs for president of the United
I
States?
certainly hope not.
Do you know? Have you met Kanye? You know?
No, actually, he's one of the few people I don't think I have met. I think we've been in the same area, like back in the days or something like that. I mean, I think musically he's a genius, but
have any of the Kardashians ever hit on you?
No, they have not. They have not.
That's rare.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm only half black.
That's true.
If I was all black, they probably would.
Go ahead, stop.
And knew how to dribble a basketball.
So they've hit on play then.
Yeah, they would. I'm
would,
sure.
they
And
would,
and
okay.
he would go for them too back in the day. Play was crazy. Play tried to hit all 5 of them and the moms.
Big Daddy writes, if Brian doesn't think it's courageous to be a Trump supporter, I challenge him to put a legitimate MAGA hat on, that stupid little bald head of his, and wear it for the entire day in public.
I wore one yesterday, you jackass. I wore a Trump hat yesterday. Where were you?
Okay. You know what?
You didn't see the white hat with the point on the top? He wore it all day.
The clan
All right, I'm
outfit.
gonna
I love that. That's my joke. You can't steal my
I am
joke.
going to. This is an honor. I'm now going to
just borrowed it.
I'm going to pass the hate comments to the great Chris Reid, Kid of Kid and Play.
We only got about 2 minutes here.
All right,
Okay.
we'll start with
Real
this
quick.
one right here.
Start with
Right
this
here.
one here.
Tanya.
Okay, this is from Tanya. Tanya Banks. Brian's nickname in high school was Chunky Monkey after we found out he stuffed a banana in his jockstrap.
That's true, by the way. I do
Nasty.
put bananas in my jockstrap. That is very, very true.
Right. You want to do any money?
Sure, have 'em read
Another one from his mother,
Okay,
Mabel.
another one from your mom's. Mabel Shapiro. When Brian was 9, he ran away from home, all because I refused to buy him a matching Donny Osmond sheet set. A week later, we found him outside the Flamingo singing, "Go away, little girl." What a brat.
Yeah.
These are very creative comments today, I must say.
Those are
That
good.
did a very, Chris, you did a
really
very
good
good
today.
job.
Yeah, really good
And
today.
for our dismount,
All right, since we only got about a minute or so left here to go, we
Yeah.
got a couple minutes. For
Yeah.
those of the people out there that have seen your act, as far as a musician, the musician, which is
Yeah.
Chris Reid and Kid and Play, but have never seen you do stand-up before,
Yeah.
explain your act a little bit, too. What should people expect?
talk a little bit about everything. I actually, acknowledge my past. Talk about my family. Talk about relationships I've had. A little current events. A lot of stuff about television I watch. My lifestyle habits. A little bit of everything. I throw a little musical angles in there as well. So it's a nice little mishmash.
That story you gave about that Prince party, do you tell stories like that about the relationships you've had over the years?
Sometimes I don't tell that story a lot because you know what I'm saying. Like I don't think Bill wants me to tell that story a lot. I don't think I've ever told that story on radio before. So you got the
The
exclusive.
time that Bill Maher was turned away from a Prince party.
Yeah.
And then you were the good friend at 3:30 in the morning, by the way. Okay, be honest. If that happened at midnight when you just got there, would you have walked out with Bill Maher?
That's a tough one. Mariah Carey was still there, and the champagne was still a-flowing.
What food do they serve at a Prince party?
I wasn't eating nothing. I was drinking all the champagne, man. I stayed at the bar. The guy was like, "Don't you got somewhere to go?" I was like, "Nope." I was like, "No, Daquan, I'm gonna be right here."
Where are you? By the way, where are you living these days? Are you in California?
Yeah. My girl and I we live in West Hollywood.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm the last straight guy in West
How do
Hollywood.
you deal with the traffic? How do you deal with the traffic there?
I don't drive.
You really don't drive?
No, I haven't driven in years.
You just Uber everywhere.
Yeah, Uber and Lyft, and my girl drives. So
Look at that.
yeah,
Look
I
at
just,
you.
Yeah,
Look at you. You don't.
Life
You're living,
of Riley.
look at
I've
that.
been living in West Hollywood too long, right? Everything.
Chris Reid,
Very
Kid
theatrical.
and Play. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join. It's been a pleasure. I grew up watching you, big fan
Thank
of
you,
yours.
man.
Your music and now your comedy, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to be there Saturday night. I'm bringing a date,
Do
sir.
tell.
And you are going to help me get laid.
You
so
gonna
thank
bring
you very
Diamond
much.
and Silk?
No, I'm definitely. I haven't invited any black leaders, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
here, my
fellas, man. Appreciate it, man. Give it up. Give it up for these guys.
Thank you.
It's the Vegas take, baby.
I love it. Chris Reid, Kid and Play. Check him out at the Downtown Grand.